Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Slant 3D podcast, the show about 3D printing and our place inside the industry. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about 3D printed shoes, super cheap filament, and then going through some updates to Teleport, and finally talking about prioritization and how to get a million things done in a day. But before that, let's go ahead and pay the bills. This episode is brought to you by the Bamboo Lab A1 combo. If you've been looking for the perfect first 3D printer, or just need a printer that's easy and quick to set up right out of the box, you should check out the Bamboo Lab A1 combo. This is a partially assembled but quick to set up machine that is both fast and incredibly precise. With its Cartesian motion system and active vibration compensation, it delivers smooth, high quality prints without the usual headaches. And the best part, the A1 combo includes Bamboo's AMS light system, so you can print in multiple colors and materials effortlessly. No more swapping spools, just load it up and let the printer do the work. It's also incredibly easy to use. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, the one-click printing through Maker World means you can start printing high-quality models in minutes. So if you want a fast, reliable, and hassle-free 3D printer, check out the Bamboo Lab A1 combo. Head to the link in the description to grab yours today. Okay, so now into the news. The very first thing I want to talk about is the Etsy regulations and that kind of thing that we were discussed a little bit, and we did a video about on the Slant POD channel. Recommend going and checking that out. Basically, it came down to the letter of the policy is that all items should be the seller's original designs. That is Etsy's phrasing. However, customer support on Etsy has said, it's okay if you have licensed designs, you're allowed. I went further and said, operationally, there's no way for them to enforce this if you change the photos of the product. So if you have original photos, there's no way for them to tell that it's the original model because they don't have the 3D model to compare against. That is kind of like the three stages of it all. Ultimately, from an operational standpoint, go by the letter of the law. You are safe and it's most reliable long-term to have original designs. Etsy customer support very likely could be lagging from the actual policy. Therefore, enforcement and their training may update over the next couple of months to where they'll start saying, oh yeah, actually, that wasn't an original design. We have a problem with it. But again, operationally, with their ability to police it, it's based on crowd control, crowd reporting, and their own ability to look at parts and pieces. So if you are making original photography of a design that exists and you have a license for it and you state that you have a license for it, it's probably fine. Etsy functionally is trying to make sure that the listings all look different. So long as your listings are not default photo from the licensed folder, you're probably going to be fine. So that's kind of the following on discussion about that. But again, safest thing, create original designs. You will also create the biggest business doing that as well. Okay, next piece of news. 3D printing footwear startup Koobz lands $7.2 million in a seed round. This is per 3dprint.com. California-based Koobz is focused on reshoring the U.S. footwear supply chain with advanced manufacturing processes, including 3D printing. The startup just announced that it has added $6 million to its seed round, which now totals $7.2 million. The funding round was led by Silicon Valley's Uncork Capital with participation from a number of other VC firms. It was founded in 2023. The founder previously started a company that was acquired by Nexa. They plan to use the seed round to support a significant amount of expansion over the next 2 years, a strategy that includes more than doubling the company's personnel from 15 to 40 and nearly doubling its fleet of 3D printers by the end of 2025 to a total of 100. I think that's incorrect because I've seen a separate announcement to where it's much larger than that. I think they're going from about 50 machines to like 400 machines. They want to make 200,000 shoes per year. Is anticipated to be an even larger facility that can fit 4,000 to 5,000 machines. Many good projects. Okay, so the reason this funding, the discussion goes on and the interview goes on to kind of discuss that the funding was a reaction to Liberation Day, the tariff announcement inside of the United States, where everyone was immediately hit with the reality of the necessity of reshoring because policy is going to force more reshoring. So in that moment, a startup that is able to make shoes locally on this side of the ocean becomes very attractive to investors because it's able to create something reliable to create a stopgap in reaction to increased tariffs and overall trade tensions. Koobz is effectively, this is not fair. They are a competitor to Zellerfeld. So Zellerfeld 3D print shoes. They're based in Hamburg, Germany. They're working on expanding more into the United States. Koobz has a series of shoe designs. They're also working with shoe designers to print out shoes and build out a system for producing shoes. This is great. This is cool that there is investment going into 3D printing kind of exclusive companies. And no doubt Zellerfeld kind of helped with this story because Zellerfeld has raised 10, maybe 20. I don't think it's 20 million. Maybe it's 10. I'm pretty sure it's 10 million or more. But anyhow, the manufacturing of these niche specific items using additive manufacturing is on investors' minds. And Uncork Capital, by the way, is not necessarily like a manufacturing-focused investor. They're a technology-focused investor. So there's a story to be had there. But overall, it's just cool to see more stuff going into 3D printing. As Koobz goes, Koobz was designing 3D printed shoes. But yes, I think they're moving more in the platform direction. And in order to bring on investors, platform is kind of necessary in order to sell that story of scale. Okay, Elegoo 3D printer filament. This story came up because I kind of just wanted to call it out. It might have been a sponsored story, which is why it was structured this way. But Elegoo has released a bunch of filled filaments, carbon fiber, glass filled, PETG, and PLA. The material, the title of it is they released new materials for $9.95. Fine print is that $9.95 is for a half a kilogram. So it's $20 per kilogram. That's the main thing that I kind of wanted to like bring up, just sort of the blatant ambiguity of that in order to get the click. But the material itself, Elegoo, I wanted to discuss because Elegoo very intentionally and very directly is going to a price war with Bamboo Lab. Both the Centauri Carbon machine, which is $200 or $300 and is meant to be an X1 killer, and then Filament here, which is just very affordable. It is not more affordable than like bamboo material, but Elegoo is just being in their ring and making sure that they're wildly competitive with all that stuff, especially on the machines. Because many of these printer manufacturers are probably realizing, and they have always known, printer manufacturers have always known that long-term recurring revenue can really come from the materials because, well, most manufacturers historically have tried to lock you into the materials. More recently, manufacturers have realized that if we have something affordable and good, anybody who buys our machine will also buy a few spools along with it, and those spools can have very good margins and still be very profitable if we're producing at scale. So Filament is kind of rebounding as an important business model lever for a lot of machine manufacturers, and Elegoo is leveraging that. Okay, next piece of news. Nike develops 3D printed flyweb bra for Faith Kepians. Oh, I apologize. I am so sorry. Kepiagans? I'm going to go with that. Record attempt. I am so sorry. I apologize for butchering that. They have, that is today, Slant 3D, Nike, the US-based apparel manufacturer, has developed a 3D printed sports bra using a new material called Flyweb. The garment is set to debut on June 26th during middle distance runner Faith Kepian's attempt to break the 4-minute mile barrier in Paris. The product is Nike's first attempt of additive manufacturing in performance apparel. So this sports bra, it's made out of CPU. It has gotten very good reviews because they're able to create a geometry in it that is very breathable. This is one of the superpowers of 3D printed textiles and padding. This has already been known inside of football helmets and a few other areas, but 3D printing, since you're able to create a 3-dimensional lattice shape, you have fully free airflow through the part. So you can make it so much more comfortable. Padding, when I was like playing football in school and that kind of thing, the padding was effectively foam with a veneer, a plastic veneer over it so that it could be washed. But then you just have this smack of foam up against you that doesn't breathe. You sweat into it. It's terrible. It's nasty. With 3D printed padding and textiles, you basically can give it fingers and ridges and airflow channels inside of it that run through the entire part. So you get something much more comfortable so that as you shift and move into it, you don't really feel it as presently. And the reviews of this sports bra have basically said something along this line. Beautiful and breathable and beautiful enough for the apparel. And when you have hang on. I'm looking for the actual, that's the number one thing testers tell us. It disappears on your body, yet somehow delivers incredible support. That's the thing. The manufacturing of this, from a manufacturing standpoint, it is kind of an FDM printer laying down a bead of TPU onto a bed. So for the technical folks who are listening to this in general, it's not really necessarily advanced technology outside from a manufacturing standpoint, but the design of it, the implementation of it, the integration of it is using apparel methods to create something that's actually really useful and supportive and comfortable. So this is cool. It's not scalable. This is a demonstration, a technology demonstration. Using an FDM printer to lay it out is terrible, but it is able to be scaled up more. The Fly Web 3D printed part with infill could be scaled up a lot more reliably if it was just making this particular material. And it's Nike's been really aggressive with 3D printing for the last year or so. So it's interesting to see that continue to be evolving and them doing it in more areas. Textiles like sports bras and shirts and that kind of thing are an interesting area to be using 3D printing because it's just not common. But this is, and fabrics generally have just been better. But in this application, they've found something that seems to work. And I want to give that a highlight because they're using geometry and the control of geometry to create something really useful for people. Okay, next piece of news. That's all for regular news. Okay, moving on to the next thing. Tangled. Oh my goodness, guys. Literally just yesterday, we had a new piece of winding machinery arrive. It's not wired correctly. It was built incorrectly. It doesn't have a ground wire in it. So we're going to have to spend a little bit of time getting that put back together correctly and revamping anything else, but we've got it. So 24/7 operation of Tangled should be able to start up here in the next couple of weeks. With that, we also changed our production workflows to where startup was a lot faster during the day and we didn't feel as bad about it. And we just had more loose people here. So Tangled, by the time this podcast goes out, I'm pretty sure Tangled should be back below 2 days for fulfillment of orders. Now, we are not opening up for members yet, but membership should be opening up again soon. So, and they should actually be shipping in a reasonable amount of time. We've had so many people ordering 10 to 50 kilograms of material, which I understand. It's cheap, it's affordable, it's good. But it really messes with our production flow, and it's been messing with us for a bit. We're finally caught up and through that backlog. We're going to keep memberships closed down here as we build up some more inventory. And then we should be able to open up memberships again, and they should actually sustain, and they should be a really good experience. With memberships, of course, they've expanded to also include discounted material from Polymaker, and we're working with other filament manufacturers to try to get like discounted material into Tangled. We're working with some folks for PCTG, and some other stuff so that the store of Tangled can be expanded a little bit. So that through the membership, you get access to really good discounted material, and we can do what we can to reduce the cost of raw material for 3D printing. So that's the stuff with Tangled. It'll all get caught up. We're also, again, working to get another extruder in. This is important for us both on Tangled side and general production because we just need more control of our materials. The last few months or so, we've had a number of production projects go through, and materials, ever since the start of Slant 3D to today, materials continue to be one of the primary bottlenecks slowing down our growth. So we're going to harp on it pretty hard and make sure that we're staying ahead of it all because materials manufacturers are not thinking in scale, and the market dynamics to force that are just going too slow. So we're going to kind of just do what we did with Tangled and be like, where's it going to go? Oh, it's all going to commoditize down to $10. Let's just go there right now. Done. Okay, so that is Tangled. Moving on to Teleport. So, bunch of updates coming out on Teleport. hang on just a second. Well, we're going to start up an incubator for Teleport, but I'm going to discuss that a little bit more here later in podcast. With Teleport itself, updates that have come out in the last 4 weeks. Obviously, 4 weeks ago, we released Teleport V2, which has a totally free stack, so you don't have to buy a ShipStation or anything like that. Up to 30 orders is totally free, and then it goes to like $10 a month for the shipping connection. Obviously, that connects you to Shopify. You can use our other resources, connect to TikTok Shop. You can connect to Etsy stores. You get access to our giant print farm through Teleport. Upload a file, go. Inside of Teleport, we have deployed the new version of the prototyper. So you can upload a file, run through the different materials, different configurations, big part, little part, so on and so forth. See what the pricing will be. You are able to match up for a given product. You are able to match up multiple files to a single product. So you can have a lid that's purple and a base that's pink and put those together, and that's a single order. So that's all done inside of Teleport. Shipping right now for Teleport orders, a few orders have gone up to the 5 days because as we've been going through the transition, we've just had people trying stuff out and scaling up. We are pushing that down. Teleport orders should start shipping under 3 days. About right now. And we are going to be harping super hard to keep that. We have more capacity going in. Literally, we're expanding a whole nother wing of the farm here in Boise and getting some more space online. So that will be coming through. Let's see here. We updated the slicer. The slicer for Teleport has been evolving really, really fast. So it has more capacity for small parts. We're tuning in particular colors. So like the light colors like white and gray and that kind of thing are more fragile than some of the others. So we've been going through the 50 to 100 iterations to really tune those profiles in more for all the edge case kind of parts. Basically, we looked at all parts that ever failed and we went through and said, tweak the profile until that part prints perfect, tweak the profile until that part prints perfect, and so on. And we've built that into the workflow of it. Teleport also, if there's a part, any part that comes through has manual review or can have manual review. So if it fails, it is manually looked at and then attempted to be resliced. We've built in that workflow to where it's sustainable and doesn't break us by having to manually reslice every person's part because that would be stupid. But if there's like a particular part that's just kind of not there, we are able to assign custom G code to it. And we're going to start rolling out that feature more it's in the background right now to make sure that your parts go out well, but we will start making a version of that kind of available to premium users where you will have effectively custom settings for your part that'll just operate kind of outside of normal Teleport flow. Certain settings will become toggleable inside of Teleport. So like support on and off, those will be coming soon. Processing is faster. Obviously, instant cancel is inside of there. You have full history of parts ordered. We'll start increasing the amount of tracking information inside of there a little bit as Kraken talks back to Teleport. So just a lot of stuff. The last 4 weeks, there's been a lot of stuff deployed to Teleport. Dashboard, sales dashboard, so you know how many sales you made, how much money you're making, so on and so forth. All of that is inside of Teleport. Just a lot of stuff is broken loose. We will, now that we have version 2 out and stable and good, and everybody who's been shifting and moving and stuff, we've got them all moved over and onboarded to new versions and so on. Now we will start releasing new features. And this is kind of a scale thing. So more colors, more third-party parts, those kind of things will start to be released over the coming weeks. And that will accelerate because that gets to be where we focus. So a lot of stuff with Teleport. In addition to that, I can't talk about this, but there is a software project that got greenlit about a week ago. I'm not going to talk about that too much, but it's really cool. It's really cool, and it will be very useful for Teleport users. And it is an experiment for us that's going to kind of exist over on the side, but it's going to be very exciting for a lot of people and will create a lot of value for people. I'm very excited about this. Okay. Next thing, Incubator. Okay. Down in the description, there is a sign up form. This sign-up form requires your name, your email, and your store URL. What we are going to do is folks can sign up for it. We are going to take a cohort of about like 10 teleport users who are have a store and are wanting to grow their store. And what we're going to do is we're basically going to run you through an incubator here over the next 4 to 6 weeks, where you'll be on calls with me, you'll be on calls with the rest of the team. We're basically going to evaluate your store, get you feedback on it, and then bring those incubator members together onto Zoom calls to where we can all help each other out. Excuse me. But Zoom calls with me and other team members, and then the people in that cohort, to where you can say, okay, I've got on Etsy, I've made one sale, how do I make more? And we'll go through, okay, what is the product? Who are you talking to? Have you turned on marketing? Where are you getting photography done? Oh, teleport too. Photo prototyper will be coming out very soon as well too, which will be really handy for a bunch of people who are international and who just don't want to do product photography. We're going to have a really, really nice product photography workflow inside of Teleport coming soon. But back to Incubator. Incubator, this is an experiment. This is a one offer. If it becomes regular, great. But we want to have basically a Sherpa for people who are starting up 3D printing stores, so that as you hit certain stages and there's ambiguity about what the next action should be, we can hopefully provide, at the very least, another opinion and some more insight to it. We obviously have data from Teleport around what is happening, like my sales are down. Is it because of the time of the year, or is it because my product is bad? We can offer some insight to that. We're like, no. This time of year, everybody's sales goes down because it's the summer. Everybody goes outside. You're good. Product listings look fine. Maybe turn off ads because they're not efficient right now, that kind of stuff. So just some counseling and some help. So that incubator, sign up down below. Again, the requirements for it are you have to have a store. We're not taking emails or people with ideas or napkin sketch. You have to have a store. You have to have a product at least partially designed or ready to go through that store. We are not requiring sign up to Teleport. This can be anybody. Obviously, it'd be great if you're on Teleport, but we think of this more as an opportunity to help grow 3D printing businesses. So anyone can apply if you have a store, and we'll try our best to help you out and say, oh, you're running a print farm? Well, where do you source the material right now? That kind of stuff. Just go through full stack of it all. Many of the lessons that we would teach in that, we are going to try to get over on the Slant Pod channel so that people can learn from that. And then all the things. Yeah. So sign up down below if you want to be part of that cohort where, yes, over the next 4 to 6 weeks, we will get with you. We'll have at least a weekly call where there'll be milestones and discussion about what you're doing, what you're working on. Hopefully the other people in the cohort can also help and add some assistance. It'd be cool if people had business partners from that. But effectively an incubator / accelerator to where you have a product, you're pushing on it, you have a website, and you just need to know, like, where do I market? How do I market it? Who do I call? Can I refine this design? How do I do photography well? That kind of stuff. And we can just give very bespoke help to a group of people to grow their 3D printing business. I can't hire people. What are we doing? That kind of thing. Okay, so that's Incubator. Okay, featured 3D print. This model was printed on the A1, who is sponsoring this video this week, and it was brought down by Maker World. This one is a rope tensioner by Universal Maker, but this is a rope tensioner. So the rope feeds in from the top. You tie it off right here, and then you can circle around, feed the rope in there, and then as you suck this down, as you pull this rope down, that wheel bites into the rope, and then this rope can pull as tight as it wants, but it will never be able to break loose until you pull it loose slack like this, and then you can take up slack right there, and then it'll pull it down again. This is pretty darn handy, and I like it quite a bit. The issues that I have with it, number one, this side where the rope interfaces, that lip right there is too thin. After a few tensionings, this is going to break. Even if you printed this with PETG or whatever performance material insert here, this wall is going to be too thin and you're going to get splitting along that edge right there. So let me get that over here just like that. There we go. There we are. Focus on that thing. But you'll get splitting right along here because it's printed just like this or like this. The orientation is incorrect for that, and you have this gear pushing a round piece of rope into the side of this wall. So you have really bad stress concentrations right there. Easy way to fix that. Round out this edge. Make it thick. It costs nothing to put some volume on there. Squeeze this out. Let it be strong. Make that wall super deep. And you can fill it up with infill. It doesn't add any material. You can mass manufacture something like that just fine. The hooks and the rest of it are fine. I would also like to see kind of like a twisty knob or some sort of handle, if it's printing like this, coming out the top of that pinion gear there. That way somebody can actually unjam it or move it around or shift it from someplace other than the rope. That way, if it gets jammed, you have some other way to break it free there. But this is nifty too. And these are the types of things that can actually be turned into real products. Okay. So that is that. Okay. Let's go to questions here first, actually. So just a moment here. Let me get to YouTube's because I did not prepare for this appropriately, is what it is. Questions, if you want to ask me a question anytime, go ahead and down below say question : whatever your question is. And the rule is that I have to respond to an event. Well, we can't respond to all of them because there's just been a bunch and there's limited time inside the podcast. So I'm going to do my best to respond to as many of them as I can, but we may not catch all of them. But question : whatever your question is. If you don't have that, definitely not going to get to it. Okay, so looking at the questions now, we're going to go ahead and go over here to community, and we're going to go ahead and search that up. Here we go. Question: is there a plan to implement per match auto fulfillment? I can print some colors just fine at home, but others I would like teleport to print. I guess I could just not match the orders I'm printing, but if I have a spike, I'd like to flip the switch to turn all auto fulfillment on. This exists. In teleport, the way of achieving this, there's a couple of angles at it. Yes, if you want us to fulfill the blue ones, you can just match up the blue SKU to us and let it run on auto fulfillment. That is one way of doing it. The other option is, inside of your account settings is a toggle that says auto fulfillment, manual fulfillment. Auto fulfillment, any match that comes to us, we will print and ship out. Manual fulfillment, every order that comes through to match will have a button pop up next to it that says submit. And you have to click the ones that you want us to fulfill. So you can just connect teleport up, match all of your items, flip it over to manual mode, and each day you can just push the buttons for the ones that you want us to fulfill. I got 5 orders. Some of them are blue, some of them are red. I got a machine that's loaded up with red. I'm going to send the 2 blue ones to Slant 3D. Bam, done. That's the easiest way of doing that. A lot of people use teleport this way of like just floating and extra capacity. So if you're like, I don't want to have to refill machines today, blah, 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 send that over to teleport and then you don't have to deal with it. Question. TikTok has very hard 3-day limit to process and ship an order. I'm using teleport and it's taking longer than 3 days. Is there anything I can do to avoid this hang up? Any tips and tricks to deal with the TikTok order time? Or is teleport just not right fit for TikTok sales? So we have a number of people who sell through TikTok. And yes, I'm very aware of this. The hard dead time is a little bit incorrect. Well, it's not incorrect. They want every part shipped out in 3 days. Otherwise, they have a tag effectively. It's not Star Seller. I'm confusing that with Etsy, but something equivalent to that. You can leg further into 5 days. It just kind of dings your store. If you have a product that people really want, it doesn't matter because they're getting it sold. TikTok will automatically refund the order after 5 days, I believe. At which point they're just like, you're not going to fulfill it in time, canceling the order, giving them the money back. So that is the true hard cutoff of like you lost the order. The 3 days is to stay in perfect standing as like a star seller with TikTok. So you can fudge, but it's not a good thing to do that. Those are the ways of tweaking TikTok. On our side, I discussed a little bit earlier, we're working to get teleport below 3 days. This is part of the reason, because we do have a lot of people selling on TikTok, and we realize that that is an issue to have to. TikTok prefers actually 2 days, not even necessarily 3 days. So we're working to push that through. The other thing that we're doing is TikTok is the only one that has this requirement. We certainly want to have faster shipping across the board, but we can't do it across the board. We may put a flag on accounts that are TikTok accounts and give you just a little bit of priority there so that your orders come up there, so long as it doesn't radically slow down other orders. But rather than like kind of first come, first serve, we're like, okay, most orders are normal order and we'll try to accelerate as much, and that's 2 to 5 day processing time. TikTok orders, in order to support those sellers because of this policy, we may give kind of a special priority to, so that they can sell over there. To everybody else watching, by the way, TikTok Shop is a fantastic selling channel, and I recommend setting it up. And if more people are over there, perfect. Everybody will get more of the priority. We're pushing to get teleport up there. Right now, literally at the beginning of this week, I was talking to the team. I'm like, there should be, at this moment, we had a big old giant surge a couple weeks ago where multiple people went viral and were selling a bunch of stuff. So that pushed out our lead time a little bit. We've been getting through that backlog. Right at the moment, we should be at a point, I've told everybody, like, no orders should take longer than 3 days to process right at the moment with capacity available. And we're just going to suffer through that and make sure that that happens. The policy is still 2 to 5 days, but as of like recording of this, pretty much every order should be shipping out in under 3 business days. Okay. Question. Since this time it wasn't asked or answered, what about teleport in Europe? So, we're working on getting a print farm in Europe in months. We're working on it. I can't. It's weird because we have to do what's best for teleport users. So we follow the data on that kind of stuff. So our prioritization goes around there. We have expansions of the Boise space and our other facility here in the States that we're working on, and we're pushing as much as possible. But we also have to make sure that we're not doing something stupid. Europe is on the docket, on the target. I don't want to. We have a timeline for it. I can't talk about it anymore. There's too much stuff on that. I'll give away something that I probably shouldn't. Okay. Have you looked at setting up a factory/warehouse in Canada? Not right at the moment. We have factories/warehouses in the United States. I understand that shipping is a little bit more on that. We're working around it, but I'm sorry to say, here's the thing, guys. As sellers, for the folks selling e-commerce stuff, the vast majority of the world market is the United States. We consume, what was the stat? We're 15% of the US population, or like 5% of the US population, some terribly small amount. I think 15%. But we consume 25 to 40% of the world's goods. Like, we are the buyers. So given that context, we are the market that you all want us to cover as well as possible. So when we're deciding what next country should we put a print farm in, the question is, does that country create more marginal value than simply improving the product inside the United States? Is it more important to have another factory in whatever, Czechoslovakia, versus having another factory in the United States that pushes processing time down an extra day so more people buy stuff? That's kind of the decision that we have to go through there when we're picking more factories. The United States is a small part of the world's population, and I am sorry, but Canada is an even smaller part. we recognize that there's a lot of sellers in Canada. Like, we do have a lot of users in Canada, but our main selling point is the fact that you can get stuff into the United States without import fees, shenanigans, and to the market without having to deal with it. Distribution in Canada would be helpful, but Canada also has a different regulatory environment. So there's just all this stuff. Whenever we introduce even introducing another facility in another state of the United States, there's so much administrative overhead to that it's quite cumbersome. Like, there is an argument of like, maybe we should just continue to make the Idaho facility bigger and bigger, but the Idaho facility is big enough and it's too expensive to ship from here. So we need factories other places. Do you offer consulting services for minor redesigns for parts to be optimized and printed through Slant Pod? Not right at the moment. Here's the thing. We process 1,000 parts per day. There's just not enough man hours to review a part. That's kind of what this YouTube channel is for. This YouTube channel is meant to be free, ready, and instant 24/7 access and support for how should your part be made. Go through the top 10 list of design for mass production 3D printing. If your part follows those rules, it's good. We would love to have more bespoke design feedback. And we're trying that through like Incubator. The Incubator release that we're doing here is kind of the first step of that, to feel it out of how can we do that in a scalable fashion. But we just can't offer it right now because we just don't have the head count. Question: have you had any teleport users report being ignored by Etsy? I set up my Etsy shop with 20 listings following your guide and launched my store. I went to check that everything was working and noticed this error. All payment methods for the shop are temporarily unavailable. So if you're, you've got Etsy Plus, okay. Etsy has really great customer support or really terrible. It looks like you're falling through a crack. I would say cancel the Etsy Plus account and start again from scratch under like a different email or something like that. That would probably be the most direct thing if you've already been waiting for a month. This is how this stuff happens. So to not steel man Etsy, but like explain how this happens. They have a call center full of whatever, 50 people, 2,000 people, whatever it is. Your support tag comes in. It is assigned to an account rep who will have a few hundred of those in a day. And they're supposed to answer messages for everybody. So they do the auto response or the default response that they know first, because that's what they need. And then that person quits or is fired, because those call center jobs are very often minimum wage jobs. And then, or Etsy might be upgraded and say like, oh, we're just going to have AI support here. And then in that transition of either the person quitting or them implementing the new system, those messages get dropped or lost inside of there. And that whole feed, along with your follow-up messages, also gets lost. The reason I know about this is because we're dealing with similar sort of scale problems. The thing to do is start fresh. There are customer client success managers that you can reach out to directly if you're really pushing on like LinkedIn or something like that. But again, you kind of have to be a substantial store. If you're brand new, it looks like based on that feedback that there was some error in your payment processing. So like your card was overdrawn or the zip code didn't align or they couldn't actually bill it. So double check to make sure that you're actually being charged for Etsy Plus, and then double check your billing information to make sure it is accurate, and it may auto fix itself. If that doesn't work, I would recommend starting up a new store from scratch, which is a hassle, but not as bad as some options. And you might be able to bulk export. I don't think you can bulk export from Etsy. So you may need to copy and paste the listings over. Question. How effective do you see Etsy ads being? I've not found them to be very effective for me. I consider Etsy ads to be some of the most effective advertising around. Etsy ads put your listing at the top of search results on a platform where people are shopping for a gift, which means they don't really care about cost. If ads are not working for your product, then you have a product mismatch. Either the product is not good enough, which is possible, or the product is targeted towards people who don't want it, which is also possible. So you need to make sure, are you advertising to the people who actually want it? Do you have appropriate keywords in your product listing? And is the product good? Do people actually want to buy it? Are you selling it someplace else? Are there successful sales someplace else? In that case, Etsy may have some bug with it to where it's not working well. Okay, but in general, Etsy ads work very well because they want to sell your product and they want to spend that money because they make money off of it. Etsy has every incentive to have those ads work well for you. Question. Someday I hope to have designed things sellable through mass production. Teleport uses 0.4 nozzle and a 0.2 layer height. Should I stop prototyping using my 0.6 and 0.8 nozzles? Wonder whether my tolerances will work less well if I send something to Teleport. Well, the good news is that your tolerances would be increasing. Going from a 0.8 nozzle to a 0.4 nozzle will give you higher tolerance, but that can mess with your design. I would recommend prototyping with a nozzle size that is used because it's highly unlikely that Teleport will ever have a larger nozzle size. That's just trending in the wrong direction. Parts will always go towards higher resolution, better quality, and low resolution nozzles and that kind of thing are just a hack way, a hacky sort of way of trying to get stuff to go faster. But they are not fundamentally correct because it's like saying, oh, I'm going to make an animated movie with big pixels. I'm like, cool, that's a stylistic choice, but that's probably not the direction the world is going. We're going to go for higher resolution. Okay, that's going to have to do it for questions for today because we do have to move on to the next thing. Okay, again, if you have a question, go ahead, comment down below. Okay, 39. Discussion topic for the day. How to do a million things in a day. / prioritization / how does Gabe structure his day? Oh, goodness. I asked guys, what do you think we should do for discussion topic on the podcast? And they were like, breakdown of your day. And I was like, my day's not that interesting. And they were like, well, just how you prioritize stuff. And I was like, oh, okay. But really, my day is not very interesting. I don't have some random thing where it's like every 5 minutes I move to the next thing and it's all got that time. For my structure of the day, I have a calendar, which I follow as stringently as I can. The biggest problem with that is that my calendar does not ring when a new event comes out. It goes blip like they do. They notify you of the next event, but they don't like ring like a phone, so you have to acknowledge it. I have been experimenting with smartwatches to try to get the notification that I want so that I'm where I need to be when I need to be and also have hard cutouts of meetings, better hard cutouts. But so I structure it that way. My day starts fairly early in the morning. It goes until fairly late at night, though as I have aged, I am not as spry as I used to be. So my days are slightly shorter than the 16 hours that they used to always be. I burn out faster than I used to. But that's all details of it all. What do I do in a day? Many people make the mistake of thinking that a productive day is when you do a bunch of things. That is not true. There are moments when you have to do a bunch of things. Like when you're first starting a startup, by golly, we got to register the thing, we got to pay for taxes, we got to get this done. Like there's a laundry list of stuff to be done. However, within that laundry list, there's a saying that goes, if you have 5 priorities, you have none. So within the laundry list of any given day, you have to pick the one thing that definitely has to be done that day and everything else is secondary. So for me, on any given day, on my calendar, I have individual meetings and events and time slots and that kind of stuff for things. But for the day, I have one single thing, which is decide on the new extruder, write out 5 videos, whatever it was, hire that new person. And that is the main thing that I'm thinking about that day. And other things should not be allowed to come into it. So, and that is fantastic. The reason this is really good is because this is very much within my philosophy of like go to the gym, 1% every day. if I get one primary priority done per day, if I eliminate one bottleneck, if I get one step further on something solidly that's not going to slip backwards or something like that, that is progress. The alternative to that is being busy, which is I had 10 meetings, I answered those 12 emails, all the rest of this kind of stuff, but nothing actually moved. And especially in my position where a lot of people report to me, like the team, I said this the other day, the thing that ruins my day the fastest is somebody saying the phrase, Gabe, I have a question for you. Shut. But that is an impromptu, unscheduled meeting that could go for however long, so there's no constraints on it, but it might be something important. It might be a fire that needs to get out, and I'm an ADHD person, so I will think that's something that's important. It is something that's urgent. It is not something that's important. Oh, goodness, this could go into a rat hole of freaking Eisenhower matrices and all the rest of it. But let me boil it down. Any single month has a single priority. Any single week has a single priority. And any single day has a single priority. If you go smaller than that, you're just down to a to-do list. But there is the job I have to get done that day. If I get it done, great. That day was a win. If I sat on a beach the rest of the day, that's not great. You don't want to do that as a startup, but it could be doable and the company would move forward. So you get that single one done in the day. I very often try to do it first thing to the degree that I'm allowed so that I have energy to do it. In my younger years, dang, I sound like such a boomer. I'm 33. I'm not that old. When I was 25 and that kind of stuff, I would live for the nights. Like I would try to get through the day. I'd diddle around all day long doing normal busy work, answering emails, taking meetings, whatever else it was. And then I would work at night. And I still do that a decent amount, but very often the day burns me out so much that my night's so shorter. And I wake up early in the morning to get the important stuff done before everybody starts. And then my meeting days burn out. And I've noticed that many CEOs and managers fall into this rhythm of like, I'm going to wake up at 3 a.m. when I have fresh energy, do the main jobs in the morning, and then I start my day with normal people to where I can hold out and energy can be sucked from that. And then at the end of the day, I'm going home and I'm going to bed at 8. I'm a night owl. I don't like that. I don't want to get up at 3 in the morning. But you get the main priority done first thing. And then if there's extra time, you can move to the next thing in the to-do list or the busy work and that kind of stuff, or the priority for tomorrow. But again, if you try to do 2 things in one day, very often one of them will be lackluster or rushed or incomplete. And incomplete is the same as not even started. So I like to give myself the run to actually finish the task. When folks are working with me, like there's times where they're like, hey, Gabe, I got a question. I'm like, nope. And I just turn them away because I'm in the middle of whatever that core power work to where it's like, I'm not breaking flow. I'm not getting a distraction right now. I have to finish this thing. I'm thinking about this email, this message, this deal, whatever it happens to be. Building out this list, how I'm researching it. I'm in my flow. I'm not breaking from it. So now within my day, after I finish that one priority, then my day opens up and I bounce around with stuff. I will have meetings with people. Meetings I generally tend to have earlier in the day. This also, like in the mornings, I've started pushing them to the afternoons because I do meetings differently than many people. Many people use meetings as a time of reporting, but I use meetings as a time of engagement. They're small, 2 or 3 people, and we're going to be working on something. What is the next video? What is the next piece of software? What are the problems that we're overcoming? So I want to make sure that I'm cognitively prepared for that. So I generally push them early, want to do them earlier in the day. Also, earlier in the day is just like when the checks for the day are in. Like, so there's like production meeting. Is everything on track? Are there things that we need to have ordered? Does somebody show up late or broken? Or did somebody just have a baby? Well, I don't know, whatever happens for the day. Like, what are the operational daily things that have to be aware of? And then meetings then follow up with individual divisions. So like software, media, that kind of thing. Where we'll go through what is the next video? How is this progressing? So on and so forth. We do not have a lot of meetings. These are not daily. each team gets about 2 meetings a week, or effectively 2 hours worth of meeting time per week. In between that, you hire good people so that they can run on their own in between. My job is to make sure that we're still traveling towards the North Star and other people don't get distracted. It's a resetting of the priorities. So I do meetings, and then throughout the day, I'll have phone calls, just another meeting with clients, answering emails, and then dealing with the messiness of the day. Because we're still a small company. I don't get the luxury of being, I'm the CEO, I'm going to think about stuff for 2 hours, make 2 good decisions, and move on through. I'm an operational CEO, so I still am involved in the daily operations of things going on. As the company grows, I'm removed from that increasingly. So there's a lot of stuff that I used to do on a daily basis that I don't engage with at all anymore because we got people for that. And somebody who does that job exclusively will do it better than I ever could stepping in. So there's the transition happening of the founder CEO who did everything, wrote all the software, made all the parts, blah, 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 to the manager CEO, where it's my job to make sure that people have the resources that they need to get their job done. That's effectively my job. And to make sure the ship is flying towards the North Star. Doggone it. I don't like this discussion topic because it's way too broad. Ultimately, the prioritization, the structure of how to get 1 million things done in a day is you don't do 1 million things in a day. You pick the one thing that matters, that moves the business, the company, the team forward. What is the thing that is slowing us down from getting bigger or doing more? We need to beat on that thing. So last week we were in media meeting. We were talking about photography of 3D printed parts. And 3D printed parts are wildly difficult to film and take photos of. Because if you're using like a PLA or a PETG, it's glossy. And when you take a photo of it, that glossiness gets enhanced and the specularity makes it look worse than it actually is, which is why every single Instagrammer that you ever watch of 3D printed parts uses matte colors. We can't use matte colors because we want to show the parts as they are, which is currently with gloss colors and teleport. And matte colors make parts weaker, so we haven't introduced those yet. Anyway, separate discussion. That was a bottleneck because we are slowed down in content production by needing to have kind of this really specific and laborious workflow for presenting parts on video. And the channel has evolved to such a degree to where we can't be quite as shoot from the hip as we used to be. But that thing was a problem inside of one of the videos. So we literally took the media meeting and took like an hour and we just beat out, okay, how do we do product photography of 3D printed parts? This also went into the discussion of doing product photography for like teleport and that kind of thing. But it's a more challenging problem than many people realize, because it's not hard to take a picture of a part, but it's tough to make a product photo of the part, especially when you're a professional organization, to where the photo is accurately representative of the actual real part and piece right here. So like this is even right here. What you're seeing on screen is not true because the brightness of your screen is different. I have a light right here shining on this in a very directed way. It's out of context. It has no background. It has no splash. Just like the photography of like this cube is a bigger problem than many people realize. That problem was slowing us down from making more content faster. So that becomes one of the primary priorities that I have because it's a constriction in the flow of how we do stuff. So we can't get bigger until we get rid of that constriction. Therefore, that is where my focus is for that day. If we solve that, we're good. So that's what it is. On each given day, on Sunday, I kind of lay out my week and I'm like, okay, here's the things we got to get done this week. And each day I give sort of its priority and it has some amount of flexibility based on whatever fire happens. As a startup, we have to deal with both the the daily operational challenges of like, somebody went viral, every machine needs redirected and everybody needs to come help with this or something, versus the long-term stuff of like, over the next 3 months, we need to build out the funnel of people, new users coming in to make sure that 3 months from now, we have what we need there. So what are the moves that we need to do right now? Well, we need to call the electrician to make sure that that is wired up 4 weeks from now, so that the machine's going to arrive 8 weeks from now, so that we can launch that new feature 12 weeks from now. That's the kind of thing. So we live both in the present and in the future. And it's my job to dance between those and ensure that everything is bouncing out. But yes, 1 priority per day. Make sure you hit that. That moves the company forward. Then the tasks. File the paperwork, follow up on that email, whatever else it was. With those little, the menial tasks, the stuff that piles up, you can spend 12 hours inside of email. You can say you're checking messages on Instagram. There's so many ways to be busy that are not productive. I very often allow things to get into a critical mass. So my philosophy on email is very unhelpful, because Paul Graham, I think, said this: email is a to-do list that other people get to put stuff on. And I completely ignore that. My email is a to-do list, but I don't have to get to it until I feel good and ready. So I do not respond to emails very quickly, very often, because I categorize emails in certain ways. Like, I'm going to deal with those style of emails today. I'm going to deal with those style of emails the next day. Those salesmen want to sell us a new extruder. I'm not dealing with that right now. That's a customer who's got a question. That's somebody notifying me of something. That's whatever it happens to be. I wait for them to get to a critical mass so that I can be productive with them. Of like, I'm going to answer those 20 emails for customers on Tuesday. I'm going to respond with quotes there on Wednesday. I'm going to talk to all those API people on Thursday, that kind of thing, which is bad because it's a slow communication time. But I cannot allow email to create the illusion of doing something useful, because responding to an email isn't something useful. If somebody really needs the conversation, they can call me, and they have my calendar and can get onto my calendar at any time in the spots where I allow meetings. And anybody else who's sending me an email, my philosophy on email is that it's free. Therefore, I can send it anytime, at anywhere, to anyone, and they're allowed to ignore it. And I give that same rule to myself. Email is cheap and free. Email me as much as you want to. I don't have to respond. I will very often read it all. I will pretty much read everything. But I don't allow it to become a task that I have to respond to. And I use that in several different areas. I'm like, I'm not going to go do this thing until there's 10 of them in a row, so that I know that I can dedicate a good solid hour to it and just beat them all out. Because 15-minute jobs are so stupidly inefficient. If you have 10 15-minute jobs, about 3 of them will get done, because humans can't switch between tasks that efficiently. So all this nitty little things and people pecking at you and that kind of stuff will eat your day alive, because you get targeted and focused over there and thinking about that. And then you sit back down at your desk and you have to say, okay, what was I doing? It was this thing. Okay, I got to get logged in, blah, 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 blah. All the setup of just transitioning between tasks is so much that if you have a bunch of tiny little things, none of them really get done, because you can never get any of them rolling. So the tiny little things pile up in little piles. And then I say, that pile, an hour, that pile, an hour, that pile, an hour. And those come after the number 1 priority for the day. That's how I structure my day. And then when you lay in bed at night, you send out random emails to people. But I didn't like that discussion topic very much, guys. I don't think it was very concise or directed, but hopefully it was useful to some of you to see where it was. I wish I could say I have this amazing system like Elon Musk. Every 15 minutes he moves to a new thing. No, he doesn't. Elon doesn't do that. Elon spends 3 hours in a meeting talking about the Raptor 5 engine or something. No one switches between tasks every 15 minutes. That's a myth of multitasking. No one multitasks. The human cognitive computer is not capable of doing that effectively. I am ADHD like crazy. Even I cannot switch between stuff that effectively. to where it is better for me to move from 15-minute thing to 15-minute thing to 15-minute thing without actually shifting. It's stupidly inefficient versus really deep work on something for a long period of time. There are a ton of 15-minute little jobs that you got to deal with, but that's not a good way of doing it. And if your day is structured around that, there's a problem. Jensen Wong of NVIDIA talked about this a little bit. He was like, I have my main priority a day. I do that first thing in the morning, and then the rest of my day is open. So if somebody says to me, I need to talk to you, he can just say, I have time. And it's true. I liked how he phrased that, because when I'm in the office, we were in an office company, I want to be available to the team to help them with whatever they've got, because shit rolls uphill. There are problems that I'm the one who knows how to solve, and other people just don't need it, or they need permission or something. So there's, you as a manager, you want to be as available to your people as you possibly can. So yes, my core jobs, I try to get done before people get here, or I try to rope off, hey, I'm not available, and then come available later on, to where people know that they have access and there is time available, and it's not, you're untouchable. One of the things that I really dislike with the openness that I've had on this channel is that many people have the perspective of Gabe is really busy. I don't want to bother Gabe. Gabe is really busy. We're all freaking busy. And I make it look busier than it should sometimes. But I think it's probably one of my management weaknesses that I present busyness or fanaticism so forwardly. I don't think that's good. A solid leader should be very calming to their people. And I'm very electric and kinetic. And that seems like Gabe's doing all the things and that kind of stuff. And yes, I am. But it shouldn't be the presentation that somehow makes me untouchable or unapproachable. So that's something I'm working on for myself as a manager, because it shouldn't. I've had users like reach out to me and like, Gabe, I don't want to bother you. I know you're really busy. And I'm like, you're one of our users. I got time. Like, it is my job to take care of you and to answer your questions and that kind of stuff. So I don't like, one of the rules for myself, one of the improvements for me as a manager and an operator is trying to hide the fanaticism or apply more aplomb to it all, to where it doesn't look like Gabe's busy that often. Yes, I got a lot of stuff going on. A lot of people got stuff going on. I could be better at not having that be so on the sleeve. But anyway, so hopefully some part of that was useful to you all. Yeah, hopefully that was useful to somebody there. But ultimately, I would say don't believe in multitasking. Have one priority per day that is important and moves your company forward. It eliminates a bottleneck. Eliminate some bottleneck that slows you down from doing the next thing. That's the one thing for the day. Everything else, I allow piles to accumulate of a particular task so that I can just do that task over and over again really fast and efficiently, get through that pile, and then move on to the next thing. But you do not want random stuff of the first thing you see, that's the one you grab. And checklists are also a little bit overrated because they're, well, that's a different conversation. But the prioritization, what is the number one bottleneck that is slowing you down right now? Eliminate that first, and then go back to regular work. Have a great day, everybody.